Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Dolores Tarver. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Georgia, and it is time for the TT Time with Dr. Tarver. Is a wellness-based podcast. It is not intended to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health provider. Week 3, we are here, week 3 of December. We have been plugging along in this series where we've been talking about the holidays. And this month, we have focused on overextending, giving, overly accommodating other people during the holidays. Last week, we discussed caregiving in the holidays. And this week, we will be discussing forgiveness in the holidays. So, oftentimes, I have clients that will talk to me about how they have been hurt by family members, but they still long for their love and acceptance. We know the holidays can be a difficult time. We have lost people, lost our loved ones during this holiday season sometimes. And so for people, the holidays are about getting together with the family members that are still there, trying to ensure that you don't miss any other moments because of past hurts that have occurred. And so what will happen is over the holidays, people will contemplate whether or not they want to forgive someone in the family or even in a friendship or relationship that has hurt them because they are thinking about the what ifs. You know, tomorrow isn't promised. What if something were to happen? Do I really want to be carrying all of this pain, this conflict inside my heart, maybe some bitterness, I've hardened my heart because of some things that have hurt me. I was watching Father's Day, a Kirk Franklin story. It's actually been out for a little while, but if you know me, you know I'm a wee bit behind on watching things. So anyway, if you have not seen it, I would recommend that you watch it. It's only 30 minutes, particularly if this episode resonates with you as a person who has been hurt by someone in your family and there's a wound that has not yet been healed. I won't give it all away, but essentially, Kirk's story is about being hurt by his mother and the man that he thought was his father. They both abandoned him, and he never really had the type of loving relationship with them he desired. It affected him in a variety of ways in his life. And now here he is at 53 years old with this wound of abandonment. And he's being interviewed, and the person that is interviewing him asked him about going to counseling with his mother in this process of reconciliation and forgiveness. And you know that look you give people when they have said something to you, one that you may have already considered, possibly tried, it hasn't worked out well, or you're just not in that place where you even want to do that because the wound is still very fresh and you may be just recognizing the limitations of this person, but you do that kind thing where you just listen and nod, not really agreeing, not really disagreeing, and then you kind of see that person go into a space where they're thinking. You see the pain is still fresh, tears, wetness on their face. That's how Kirk responded, which got me to thinking about all of the factors that go into our decisions to forgive people, and particularly during the holiday season. I will tell you that rarely will you experience in your life forgiveness that's just neat and clean. Oftentimes, forgiveness is really complicated, and there's a lot of different layers with regard to whether or not you will forgive somebody, how that person has hurt you, how they're continuing to show up in your life, and to truly be able to let go of resentments and pain and hurt, sometimes even the desire to seek retribution, given what types of pain there may have been present. That is not a simple ask, and it's definitely a journey, often one that's not immediate, because we still have emotions and our bodies still react to memories, even if we are not consciously thinking about them. They're still there. You've heard me say before, referencing one of the greatest trauma books, The Body Keeps the Score. And so even though we even may decide to forgive a person, we might not trust them, which can make it difficult to even think about having a relationship with them. And even if we, again, forgive them, we also may recognize the limitations of this person, which is what led to this hurtful behavior that they exhibited toward us anyway. And we know that they did the best that they knew how to do, but we also recognize in those limitations that that's the best they'll be able to do. And so we really think about, do I want to give access to me, unlimited access to me, from a person who I recognize has limitations and who is likely to hurt me again because they can only love me in the ways that they know how. And because forgiveness is just so messy and it's not forgetting, we can sometimes say we've forgiven somebody, but then we still have all the guilt because I'm like really still thinking about it. And I may still be thinking some things about you that may not really necessarily feel like I've forgiven you, which can make me feel guilty. And then also makes me really wonder if forgiveness is even attainable. So there's that hopelessness that can kick in, and then now I'm stuck. And then in that stuckness, now I can either go in the direction of just being avoidant, I don't want to deal with this altogether, or being overly accommodating because I'm trying to prove like, no, I really can do this. I can move forward. And then we're not being really truthful and honest with ourselves in that forgiveness journey, because in forgiveness, there has to be truth. So let's talk about the different reasons why we may want to forgive people. Sometimes we want to forgive people, particularly in this holiday season, because of other people. So some of the most common things I hear, like, oh, I should forgive this person. It's the holidays. I don't want to be the person that's causing the conflict. I don't want to be the person who is being rigid, and I don't want to move forward when everybody else wants to move forward. And so then I feel like I'm the one causing the pain now. I'm causing the hurt, right? And so we begin to take responsibility, and then we feel pressured. We feel obligated. That I need to forgive this person because the holidays are coming up and I don't want the holidays to be awkward. I want to be included. I want everybody else to be included. I don't want to be the reason why somebody's not included. And then what if they get depressed and sad and they end up harming themselves? They're isolated and alone. And then how is God going to be looking at me if I do this to someone else? Like, then I'm being an awful person. Sometimes we feel like we should honor people who are family members because simply they're our family. That's the right thing to do. I need to honor my parents so my days will be longer. Family above everything. And so these kinds of things that we say to ourselves, or that we've grown up with, kind of these cultural views, if you will, in our family, that family, blood is thicker than water. Family, it will be there when other people leave you. Family is the only thing that's guaranteed. And so sometimes we just feel this pressure to move forward. And sometimes we have family members or friends that are pressing us to move forward. You have been friends with this person for X amount of years. This is your spouse. This is your the mother or father of your children. This is your sibling. This is your coworker who you've got to work with. This is a member of your organization you've got to engage with. And so we feel this outward pressure from other people like, hey, y'all need to figure that out because now it's interfering with everybody else. And now you're causing problems here because you haven't addressed this. So you need to forgive and you need to move forward, right? Then there is us really reflecting and thinking about ourselves and why we might want to forgive. And sometimes that does speak to the morals and values that we have, where we want to be better people. We want to be loving people. We want to be people who give grace. We understand that we're not perfect. And so we can't expect that other people will be perfect. We want to practice empathy and understanding, even when other people don't practice it for us. We say we want to be the best version of ourselves. We don't want to carry stress in our bodies, holding on to things that maybe were unintentional slights. We don't want to be a person who wants to be forgiven but can't offer forgiveness. We also may recognize the things that guide a person's behavior. We can separate this act from this person's character and integrity. You hurt me, but I understand the intent wasn't to do so. And I also recognize that there have been all these other times when you've done for me what I needed, when you showed up for me, when you were present. And so I feel like you're entitled to make a mistake and me forgive you, recognizing that you are sincere in an apology. Sometimes we get to a point where we don't even need an apology because we care more about this relationship than we do about being right or receiving the apology. We understand in these recognizing of other people's limitations, what they're able to do. And we can read in between lines and we understand sometimes people will do a lot easier than they will say. And so we'll see that they're making some effort, even if they never say anything to us. Maybe it was something minor that happened in the first place, or maybe it was a misunderstanding. And we were able to reconcile this, have a conversation, put some boundaries in place. And so I feel like we can move forward and I can forgive you and that be a true forgiveness. And I'm not going to be harboring this resentment towards you. We also may see forgiveness as something that God gives all of God's children. And we may say, hey, I want to be more like God. I want to be more like Christ. I want to be a person who is a light and a beacon and a safe space. And so I want to offer that space of forgiveness for people. And I will tell you that none of these things are necessarily in themselves unhealthy, but I think it's just a matter of us really thinking about what are the reasons we might want to forgive someone, and then let that guide us in terms of making the decision. Now, I will tell you that some people may not agree with this, but there are absolutely people out there that commit heinous acts intended to be evil, intended to be harmful, with no remorse. They don't care they hurt you. They don't care how they hurt you. They don't care anything about your pain. In fact, they take pleasure in your pain. They blame you sometimes for them inflicting pain on you. And yes, it was your fault. You caused me to do this. If you had only done this, I wouldn't have reacted that way. They're going to continue to cause you pain. In my opinion, when a person truly seeks to harm you, when they really don't care anything about you and they're going to continue to abuse you, then to me, your priority is your safety. And so I am very much a proponent of removing yourself from anyone that would intentionally try to hurt you and continue to do so and not care anything about the fact that they're causing you pain. They don't deserve to have access to you. Now, whether or not you choose to forgive them, that is up to you. I will say to you, you can forgive people and they don't have to get access to you. And so from that standpoint, I will tell you, do not continue to give people access to you that would hurt you intentionally over and over and over again, even if they have an excuse and a justification for every time. It's an excuse and a justification, right? So you deserve to be with people that are going to treat you with respect. Okay, all right, so if we get past maleficence, if we will, then let's move on to thinking about if this person is able to respect your boundaries. Because often forgiveness does come with some criteria. I am forgiving you for this thing with the understanding that you won't do this thing again, that this won't continue to be a pattern, that when you apologize to me, you are sincere in that apology and you are going to do everything in your power not to do something to me similar or that same thing again, right? And this person is able to respect those boundaries. They're able to take that responsibility for their behavior. They're able to offer you sincerity in wanting to be different, and they're able to listen and hear you and understand how you were affected. They allow you the ability to grieve, and they allow you the ability to process, and they don't intrude. Whatever time you need, whatever space you need, because I understand that I hurt you. And so You take that time. When you're ready, let's come back, let's talk. Let's address this hurt and how we're going to be able to move forward in a healthy way from that hurt, right? These are healthy reasons to consider forgiveness. Now, again, that's nice and neat and clean. And we know that forgiveness is often messy and complicated. So that may not be the experience with everyone in your life. So sometimes what ends up happening is I have to really think about that I'm not going to get necessarily this apology from this person. I may not necessarily get a change in behavior from this person. And so now I need to really think about why I am choosing to forgive them. Why do I want to offer this forgiveness during the holiday season? Am I trying to be accommodating? We talk about fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawn is that accommodation where I am allowing you to set the boundaries. I am doing whatever is comfortable for you. I am not allowing myself to have a say in how I'm treated or what happens, right? So, am I doing it for accommodation? Do I just want to get along to get along? Am I doing it because I want people to accept me? And I think they're going to accept me if I offer this forgiveness to this person because the family has told me I need to move forward. And in my mind, that if I don't move forward, then I'm going to be rejected. Am I doing it because I feel guilty if I don't? Like I feel like this is what I should be doing, and maybe God isn't going to be pleased with me. The family's going to talk about me. They're going to say that I'm mean, that I'm not loving. Shame on me, right? Am I doing it because of fear? Am I scared of what will happen if I don't forgive this person? Again, and this is a safety issue, as we talked about earlier. Like this person is going to do something harmful to me if I don't forgive them, or at the very least say I forgave them. Or is there a fear I'll be missing out on something if I don't forgive them? Do I feel obligated to forgive them because of the relationship they have with me? Oh, well, if you say you love me, you should forgive me. Am I holding on to how I've hurt other people, and that's what's fueling my guilt? And so now I think I have to make amends with everyone else because I can't make amends with this one person or these people who have hurt. And so I'll make amends with everyone else, even if they continue to harm me. So is that where my guilt is coming from? Am I thinking that this altruistic behavior, or that I think is altruistic, but it really isn't, is going to allow me to erase the sins of my past, if you will? Then there's this piece about us just kind of recognizing our own unhealthy patterns. So maybe we are the person that does not offer forgiveness to others. We hold grudges. Maybe we punish people when they do things to us that we perceive as slights, and maybe we withhold attention and affection from them. Maybe we have over-exaggerated responses to what we perceive to be slights. We're taking things out of context. We're being maybe overly sensitive about things. We're blaming, attacking. And so I'm realizing that the issue with forgiveness is within me. I mean, I'm having a hard time being able to understand the humanness in people. And maybe because I don't recognize my own humanity. And so it's making it very difficult for me to be able to see other people. Right? And so maybe that's some work I need to do around forgiveness is first with me. Like, why am I holding on to things? There's your plug for therapy. You knew it was coming. Right? And so I need to kind of do this work within me to really understand what is blocking me from accepting people's apologies or for issuing apologies. Then I think it's important for us in this third category of understanding a person's limitations, right? Sometimes we can recognize that a person is limited in what they can give us, but they're also capable of being able to create, or at the very least abide by, a healthy boundary that you set, right? And so we can find a place within those limitations where you're not continuing to harm me, where we have a relationship that's safe, right? So sometimes we recognize that people aren't going to tell us they love us, right? We have this wound from childhood, often from a caregiver, and this caregiver isn't able to say, I love you, I apologize, I'm sorry. But what we're seeing is they're showing up better for their grandkids. They're showing up and they're being present when we need things, right? So they are able to show up and respect the boundary of, hey, you deserve to be treated well. I didn't treat you as well as I could have when you were growing up. Let me do better by your kids. Let me show up better for you as an adult. I'm still not going to necessarily be able to give you all of the things you deserve or desire, but I can show you that you matter and that you're important by being present in these ways, right? And I definitely think that that is an appropriate person to extend that forgiveness to, because they're still taking responsibility. It just may not necessarily be in the words that you want to hear, but their behavior has changed. Sometimes as you're thinking about forgiveness, it may be to set yourself free from bondage. Sometimes we can be prisoners to pain that someone caused us, and it stops us from being able to grow because now we're bitter and we've generalized this pain to everyone. We don't trust people. We don't have relationships with people. We're distant. We desire them. We just don't feel as if people could actually show up and be present for us in the ways that we desire. And so now we've just put this wall up. And so maybe what I need to do is be able to release myself from this pain that was given to me, that I'm carrying around and I'm now passing on to other people. Right? And so I need to do that work of forgiving this person. And again, forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean they have the ability to continue to access us. And forgiveness may be something they don't even know you've forgiven them. You've released yourself from bondage, and you don't have to talk to that other person. You can release yourself from bondage through prayer. You can release yourself from bondage by writing a letter out. You can release yourself from bondage by talking to yourself through this, journaling, right? So you'll be able, being present, being mindful, in that I am going to allow this to leave me. I'm going to honor how it made me feel, because that's the thing I think sometimes people don't do, which causes them to be stuck, and why sometimes things are residually held in our bodies and we don't really actually let them go, because we didn't allow ourselves to be in those emotions. You have to process those emotions. You cannot skip past that. You got to go through the hurt to get to the healing. But being able to honor those and being able to talk yourself through understanding what you need, not necessarily from this person, particularly if this person isn't even present to be able to give that to you, or if this is a person you don't want to have access to you because they're not safe for you, or if this is a person that you don't necessarily want to have a relationship with moving forward. However, you want to be able to release them and release yourself from this pain. So you can do that work without ever having to say anything to them. There are some forgiveness ceremonies that people can engage in. These are things you can do with your friends or maybe family. These are things you can do in your therapy process to be able to heal and release. And then that stops you from being bound to this pain. And it allows you to be able to have a deeper healing and understanding and be able to move forward and have the healthy relationships you want to have. Now, as you're deciding where you fall in that, or if there's an area that's different for you, whatever it may be that you're experiencing as you're deciding whether or not you want to forgive someone as you come upon this holiday season, I do want to give you some guidelines. One, you do not want to have a conversation in the space of this holiday gathering for the first time, right? You want to have those conversations prior to going into that space. One, you have no idea how you may experience this person, how they may experience you. So you want to give yourself and them the opportunity to be able to have an open and honest conversation without an audience, without pressure, without taking the time to unpack and be sincere in and authentic in the experience. So you want to do that prior to going into a gathering. Right? So if your Christmas dinner is tomorrow and there's somebody you need to make amends with, I definitely would not recommend that you do that tomorrow when you show up with the rolls and, hey, let's talk about this beef we got going because I need to work on some forgiveness, right? I would not recommend that. So I do encourage you, though, to make a list. Make a list and check it twice about what it is that you're holding on to that hurt you. what your desire is regarding forgiveness. Is this a forgiveness and I would like an apology? Is this a forgiveness and I would like an apology, but I recognize I may not get one? And so how am I going to move forward if I don't get one? Is this forgiveness and I need to set some boundaries? But whatever it is, you need to be clear about it before you even begin to have that conversation with someone. And you want to make sure you're in a place of wholeness and wise mind. It's not impulsive. It's not still coming from a place of anger and bitterness and resentment, because you will get lost in trying to communicate your needs when you haven't dealt with your emotional pain. And so it may also be important for you to do therapy first, set your list there, identify what your goals are around forgiveness, and then you may present that. And it may end up being after the holidays, but it may be during this holiday time that you begin to think about it, and that's okay. Know that there is more than one step to forgiveness. Articulating your needs is a step, but that is just part of the process. And I think it's important for you to think about what that process might entail. Because one of the things that we do know is that trust is not just rebuilt because somebody says, oh, hey, I apologize, right? Trust is earned. It was broken, and now it has to be rebuilt. And that's going to take some time. And that may look like some interactions moving forward, but they won't necessarily be frequent interactions right away, and they might not be very deep interactions right away. It's going to take time. And also being willing to accept that you may want to embark upon this forgiveness journey, and it might be one-sided, that this person may not want to embark on this forgiveness journey. Just because you're in this place of wanting to be healed and whole does not mean it's going to be reciprocated. And again, it does not mean that this person is going to be open to giving you what it is that you need. And so it's very important for you to have other options of some things in order for you to be able to move forward. Because if a door is slammed in your face from this person, when you attempt to be open and transparent and honest, you put yourself out there, you need to be prepared for that. Which is also why it's very important for you to have done your work before you go into that situation. Because what you don't want to do is have that door slammed, here you all vulnerable, and you haven't dealt with your own pain. And then now you have been re-injured. And so now, in addition to whatever pain you already had, now you've got this rejection and this dismissal of your pain experience, which again, we talked about forgiveness can be messy and complicated. Now you're in these layers again, and now we're really having to do some work, because that might shut you down. And then you may retreat in and say, never mind, this is why I don't do this at all, right? And then here we go, feeding these cognitive distortions that you may have about relationships and forgiveness. So we don't want to do that. So we want to create safety, and we want to make sure we're doing that preparation prior to the holidays. It does not typically go well also with alcohol, so let's just not. I really don't even have a lot to say about that. I know that you think that that gives you liquid courage, but I will tell you, often more harm than help comes out of that. We want to be of clear mind, whether that's alcohol or any other substances or medications or whatever it may be. We don't need you to be foggy. We need you to be clear when you're having a conversation. You want to make sure that you stick to your points, that you have an agenda, because we can get all off track, as I do sometimes in these podcasts. And so we want to make sure that you have your list so you can stay focused on it and you not get caught up in some of the circular things that can happen when we're having discussions. And this is not a time, I really would not recommend it be like, hey, we're just going to hash out everything from 50 years. Let's not. Let's focus on what the main themes are. And understand that this doesn't have to be a one and done conversation. It might be several conversations, which again, if you're guided and you're focused in what you have to discuss and you don't get caught up in some of the manipulation and unhealthy ways of communicating, that you're direct, you own how you feel, and you move forward with clear intention, then you're much more likely to be successful in addressing this forgiveness during the holiday season. So I will close by saying, love yourself. Heal yourself. Forgive yourself. Then you can better determine how, when, and if you are ready to forgive others. Be well.